Could the time ever be ripe?
The Republicans have been able to demonstrate that reforms cannot be met within the six-county state. Therefore, the only solution is that that state must come down. And that's why, despite 10, 11 years of British Army occupation, despite internment, the arrests of many activists, there's over 1,500 people experienced internment from the nationalist ghettos, the IRA is still able to draw upon the youth and draw upon people's houses for support to billet their men and to keep their arms.
Now, of course, you don't have the support on the whole of the majority of the Irish people in this campaign, do you?
For a lot of the methods used, nobody likes to be violent, right? And the people in the 26 counties have been fed upon a diet of Free State propaganda since 1921. The Fianna Fáil, whose roots they split from the Republican movement in 1926, they're still deeply nationalistic, and the aim, and it's enshrined in the Constitution of the Free State, is the reunification of Ireland.
Yes, but it doesn't support the reunification of Ireland by the violent methods you use.
No, but they retrospectively endorsed the 1916 Rising, which hadn't got the support of the people.
Well, you could say this was their dishonesty, but they still don't support you in your violent methods today.
The IRA's mandate in the North is from the oppressed nationalist people. Certainly not the middle-class nationalist people, but from oppressed nationalist people. That's where it draws its support, and that's where it draws its mandate.
You say it as a mandate, but where does it get this mandate from? It's certainly not at the free elections.
By the perpetuation of its struggle. If the IRA were just mindless hooligans or criminals or godfathers, then why are they tolerated within the Catholic people, in the Catholic areas, where they draw support?
A Republican social evening in Andersonstown.
What has been put forward in the name of republicanism by many people in modern Ireland, which is not republicanism at all, it is in fact extreme nationalism, something which puts forward a very narrow sectional view of Ireland, a view which takes little account of the differences that exist in this island and of the existence of a very large tradition in the northern part of the island. A view which thinks that it's right not only to kill, but to die, to enforce this view, this sectional view of Ireland and people. That's not what I believe, and I don't think that's republicanism at all. I think such people have stolen the word. Republicanism ought to mean, for anyone, what its original definition meant on this island, the coming together of Catholic, Protestant and dissenter. And what I would want to see on this island would be an agreed Ireland, one which all its traditions agree, an Ireland which is, of course, independent, and one which has a role for all sections of the Irish people to play.
There would be trouble if the British government withdrew and did not negotiate with the rest of Ireland.
But what sort of trouble?
Well, presumably the loyalists would not tolerate the nationalist people within their boundaries.
Exactly.
Right, well then, having said that, and you haven't said exactly, you should realise then that it's the loyalists who are opposed to the equality of man, not the Irish people.
I'm just asking you what you think would happen when you get that situation.
Well, we would hope that they would be realistic and join hands and accept an olive branch, and we'll work together to build a good country and a peaceful country, because that's all we're after, is peace.
And supposing they thought they were being more realistic in having nothing to do with your olive branch?
Well, those are questions which then you would have to put to them to see what they were about to do.
If the British alone decided to withdraw from the Ulster situation, the Protestants would go back into their traditional defensive camp and become very militant, as it did in 1912 to 1914, as it did in the early 20s, in the setup of the state of Northern Ireland. All logic would be pushed to the side. We would fight for our very survival, believing that that would be the case. It's impossible for the British to alone withdraw from the situation. We say, those who believe in an independent Ulster, that both the sovereign powers who are involved and actually cause the problem here must withdraw simultaneously. That the Irish must say that we are prepared to recognise Ulster nationalism, and that the people in Ulster must determine their own future. And the British must say that we are prepared to physically withdraw from the situation and encourage the Ulster people to find their own identity. And that we must, without the influence of London or without the influence of Dublin, move towards our own future and find our future together.
Are such people trapped in their history, prisoners of it? The surviving men of 1916, of the IRA of 1920 and 21, have now grown old, and their reunions are muted affairs.
Gentlemen, I'd like you all to stand and say a prayer for our past members, people who died during the past year.
Their tradition of violence is still hallowed in much of Ireland. It gave eventual freedom to most of that part of Ireland that wanted it.
The souls of all the faithful departed, the mercy of God, rest in peace.
The only source of income comes from our chairman, who has apparently many generous friends.
I have 3 or 4 friends, I had 3 or 4 friends who used to come to my aid by going to them and asking them to sponsor this and sponsor the other thing and sponsor the other. And they sponsored it. But unfortunately, 3 of them are dead now.
The facts of the present must be faced by these once ruthless killers.
If you know any good people living in your area, they can give you 10 quid to send it on to me.
These men's successors, the present IRA, must face the fact that though their violence might, in the end, get Britain out of Ireland, violence now is destroying the centuries-old dream of patriotic Irishmen of uniting the hearts and minds of all the people of Ireland.